Good evening, everybody. My name is Dipayan Das. I am the Executive Vice President for Technical Drying Services Asia Private Limited. And I, along with my colleague, Mr. Rajesh Marwa and Himanshu Chauhan, have the privilege of, talking to you about restoration and drying services in the context of loss minimization, primarily with related to fire and water damage claims. So with this, let me start the presentation. Today, our presentation is going to cover the following things: an introduction of the Power Group. We'll talk about what is water damage restoration, its impact, basic types of damages, so on and so forth. We'll also dwell a bit on the science of drying. What is restoration drying? Advantages of restoration drying. What can be restored? What cannot be restored? Some case studies, question and answers. And finally, we'll talk about TDS, Technical Drying Services, own credentials in being in this field. So to start with, the Power Group is basically almost a 55-year-old company operating out of India. We have got four companies. Dryer is one of the companies, DRI, Delair, Technical Drying Services, and we also have another company which is in Switzerland called Dryer Procon. So three of our businesses, which is Dryer, DRI, Delair, are manufacturing, and TDS is the marketing and services company. We have a worldwide network covering India, Malaysia, China, Switzerland, Brazil, Philippines, Korea, Bangladesh, UAE, Nigeria, and the USA. These are locations where we have our own offices and factories as well. We have 11 manufacturing plants, 7 in India, 1 in Malaysia, 1 in China, Switzerland, Brazil. And when you talk about our resources, we are more than 1,500 plus employees, out of which almost more than 50% are either engineers or technicians. We have a very strong backbone of research and development facilities, which is registered and recognized by Ministry of Science and Technology, with 8 in-house research and development and test labs. We are proud to say that, as an Indian company, we have filed 123 international patent applications till date, covering 13 different new technologies, out of which 43 patents have already been granted or allowed. So this talks a lot about the amount of resource investment that we do in terms of development, in terms of research and development. Now, Technical Drying Services, being a part of this group, is actually privy to most of the information which is there, with the technological developments that is there with us. And that sets us apart in this field compared to many other companies who would be there. Now we start with the presentation, and the first question that we would like to dwell upon is, what is water damage restoration? Now this is something which is very relevant today. And why it has become more relevant in the recent years is something which we'll see shortly. But let us understand, what exactly is water damage restoration. Now, water damage restoration, let us first understand, is an emergency service. Like you have got a fire service, which is an emergency service. A medical, medical team is required on an emergency basis. Similarly, a water damage restoration team is also an emergency service. Basically, the objective is to dry and restore assets that are damaged by water. So we say that our objective is to preserve, protect, and secure the assets from any further damage, and to recover and restore the material to its original functionality. Now we say we want to recover and restore the material to its original functionality. That does not mean that all the materials we restore, all the equipments or components that we restore, will become like the original in terms of look and feel as well. So our objective entirely is to first of all work on the functionality of the asset, and to ensure that the asset owner is able to derive the necessary functionality from the asset. Now you would notice here that we are talking about preserving, protecting, and securing before recover and restored. That is because as you go on through the presentation, you would realize that water damage is something where we are running against time. So our first objective in reaching any site is to ensure that we are able to preserve whatever has not been damaged, protect the adjacent assets, and then secure the assets against any further damage. Now, why is water damage restoration so important? Water damage restoration is so important because it is one of the chief causes of loss that occurs in a country which is related to natural disaster. Just to give you some statistics, 2005 Mumbai floods, almost about 3,000 crore of loss was reported. 2008 Bihar floods, almost 2,000 crore of loss was reported. And when you talk about the latest one, which happened in Kerala in the year 2018, we are looking at a loss of something close to about 40,000 crore, which was reported. If we look into the situation worldwide, we will see that the damage is much bigger. For example, if you see 2017 Hurricane Harvey, which hit Texas and Los Angeles, the loss reported was something close to about $90 billion US. Hurricane Maria, which hit in 2017, the loss reported was $102 billion. Now, most of this loss, has to do with water, which comes in and damages households, damages industries, damages office, equipments are damaged, vehicles are damaged, raw materials are damaged, finished goods are damaged, so the loss becomes huge. Now, if we look into the some more statistics, we would say that when you talk about the total losses of something about 1,45,000 crore, which happens, water damage losses would be something about 14,500 crores, which is approximately about 10%. And out of this 14,500 crores of water damage loss, 1,400 crore loss is something which is restorable. So, which means that we are looking into a potential of saving about 1,450 crore to the industry or to the insurance industry in terms of restoring what has been damaged or preserving what has not been damaged more. Worldwide, if we look into it, the water damage restoration industry is something close to about $6 billion US. And in the advanced economies of the world, if we look into Singapore, if we look into the European countries, if we look into the US, Japan for that matter, we would see that water damage restoration is a standalone industry which works very closely with the insurance companies and works very closely with a lot of other kind of restoration companies to ensure that the damages which are caused because of water, which can happen either because of a natural phenomenon or because of a man-made phenomenon, is kept to as minimum as possible. Now, water-related damages. So, if we look into the water-related damages, we can actually classify water-related damages into three clear categories. As we all know that if there is a damage which is happening, it is very essential that water must have come inside. So, one type of damage is called the clean water damage. Now, what is a clean water damage? This is typically a pipe busting, overflowing from sinks, which can happen at our home. There can be rainwater which enters, or it can be even a fire incident wherein the fire engine must have come and doused the flames with clean water. Now, the advantage, the point which has to be noted about the clean water damage is that it only wets the surface. It does not cause much more damage than that of wetting the surface. But if a clean water damage is not taken care of within 24 hours, it can actually turn into the next stage, which is called a gray water damage. Now, a gray water damage typically happens when there is an equipment discharge, or there is some kind of chemical discharge, or there is some kind of rainwater which is moving through unclean sources. These are typically more dangerous than that of clean water damage because they increase the rate of corrosion significantly. They cause a lot of other damages in the system. They are potential for infection. They can cause other kind of contamination, so on and so forth. We also have to understand that if a clean water damage is not restored within 24 hours, or we do not start working on a clean water damage into 24 hours, the water will the water will start becoming gray water, and the damages would be something what you would expect in a gray water damage. But the most dangerous of all is what we call as the black water damage. This typically represents water from sewers, water containing grease, oil, urine, etc. And in this case, the infection chances are more than 90%. Unfortunately, whenever we have a natural phenomenon, be it a flood, be it a storm, be it unseasonal rains, most of the damage that is caused to industries, showrooms, shops, go downs are because of black water damage. Now, this not only increases the rate of corrosion, it significantly increases the rate of infection. And as you see, that this damage does not go out very easily. It tends to linger on for a very, very long period of time, even after the water has receded, and the situation is back to normal. Now, when you talk about the water damages that are caused due to water, we see that, as I told you earlier also, we are fighting against time. And what we have done here is that we have tried to give you an idea that how a water damage actually proceeds through an area which has been damaged. Now, when you look into the causes of water damage, there can be many. One is heavy rainfall, hurricanes, or floods, which are typically natural damages. Broken water pipes inside the building, so basically plumbing faults, are the second biggest cause of water damage. Fire control procedure, which involves substantial quantity of water during firefighting, also cause damage. Now, the problem with the firefighting is that the fire, whatever damage the fire causes, the water which is sprayed to control the fire causes much bigger damage. So there are cases where the shop, go down, or the building which has caught fire, that of course has got damage because of the fire, but places around that have also got damage because of the huge amount of water that is coming. And for those people who get damaged because of the water, for them it's like a secondary damage. So they would like to get back their facility up into action as quickly as possible, but because of the secondary damage, they also tend to incur business losses compared to the one who has been affected by the fire. Defective and damaged sprinklers in commercial buildings. This is one more problem area, mainly with offices. Today, when you look into the call centers, business processing centers, this can be a big challenge because it can put them out of business for a significant amount of time. So let's say a call center, because of a water sprinkler getting out of business for 3 hours in a day, is a significant loss in terms of the revenue which they can generate. Now, to go further, we have to understand that drying is, we all know drying. We wash our clothes, we dry our hair, we mop our floor, which gets dried. So not everybody think that what exactly is happening or the mechanism that is happening in the drying process. So the drying process is a technology. Although we may not, so easily understand it, but it's a technology. The definition of drying is a mass transfer process consisting of removal of water or any other solvent by evaporation from a solid, semi-solid, or a liquid. So whenever you encounter the word drying, you have to understand that this is a physiochemical process which is happening and strong technology behind it. So basically what we are talking about is that there is moisture and there is a heat transfer which is happening. As a result of the heat transfer, the moisture is forced out of the system, and then we have a gas, and this gas is responsible for moving the moisture from the area. So typically the yellow colored lines that you see, those are the moisture, and the green line is basically the dry air. So as the dry air comes in, it pushes out the water molecules, and if we do not maintain a particular velocity of the gas, the water molecule will start saturating here. Then no more drying happens. So you need to give a velocity of air to move out the water molecules. Also, it is important for us to understand that if we want to understand the dryness, we have to understand moisture. And understanding moisture in the drying process, it would suffice for our discussion today to understand that there are two types of moisture. One is surface moisture, the other is core moisture. Now, when you talk about surface moisture can be more easily managed by blowing the right quantity of air and giving the right temperature of air. Whereas core moisture is something for which you need very specialized equipments like dryers and dehumidifiers to take out the core moisture. Now, whenever you are encountering a water damage, you would encounter both surface moisture as well as core moisture. Surface moisture is still easier to manage. Maybe what most of the people do is the moment a water inundation has happened, the first person they would call, apart from the surveyor, would be the housekeeping guys. Would say that look, there is a lot of water which has come in, isko saaf kar do. Now the housekeeping guys have no idea about what kind of moisture it is, whether it is a surface moisture or whether it's a core moisture. They will come with their own set of expertise and try to wipe the surface clean. Now in the process of wiping the surface clean, what they do most of the time is they ignore those areas which are susceptible to core moisture. So they might do a good job of mopping the floor, and when you look at it, you find that, oh yeah, most of the water is gone. But in the crevasses, inside the woods, the wooden panels, fabrics, yarns, this water has already seeped in. Inside the walls, this water has already seeped in. And this problem is going to start impacting you after a few days. So the deterioration starts after a few days, and the problem that happens is, since you have got somebody who does not understand what core moisture is or how the core moisture needs to be managed, we have already lost what is called as the golden hour in trying to overcome this. Now, what are the factors affecting drying process? These are some of the terms which we use very frequently: dew point, relative humidity, air temperature, air velocity, vapor pressure of water, time of contact, saturation level, type of material. So these are very important for us. These are technical terms. But then when you have an expert like TDS, our people are very well conversant with all of this. We understand what is the impact of all of this in the drying process, and we are able to take the necessary steps. Let's give you an example. Now, if I have core moisture, if I have a hygroscopic material, TDS people would know that the moment they entered into a room, what are the possible hygroscopic materials which are there. And in a hygroscopic material, we also know that we will have to create a vapor pressure differential if we are to dry it. Just by blowing hot air is not going to be enough to dry that material. On the surface of it, it might look as if it has got dried, but the damage is being done inside. We need to pull that moisture out from the core if we are to protect that particular asset. So this is something which a normal cleaning or a normal housekeeping person will not understand. Because we understand the science behind it, because we train our people in the psychometry, we train our people in dehumidification process, our people are able to understand it. The science of drying. So this is how TDS done is. The moisture is absorbed in the in dehumidification sector of the fluted material. So we have got our own machines. We have got our own technique of drying when we encounter a site which has been inundated or affected by water damage. As I had already shared with you, this is a bit more of a detailed water damages and its 5 stages. So basically, primary damage, which we all said was the free flow of the water, the weakening of the moisture, which is basically the secondary damage, and tertiary damage is the high humidity damage, active microbial growth. I think we have talked about this in detail during my during the initial part of the discussion. I'll not spend some more time, but this is to reiterate the fact that in case of a drying project, we are racing against time, and we have to understand a lot of things other than the fact that only water has come in. So key concepts that we need to keep in mind are quantify and understand the moisture in the material, which I already said, whether the material is hygroscopic, it is non-hygroscopic, how much moisture it can absorb, whether we need to pull out the core moisture, whether it's surface moisture management can help, control key variables at the surface, air moisture, air movement, air temperature. Now, most of the people, most of the professionals who would go in from TDS would understand that it is not only about putting hot air or just running a blower to dry the whole place. We need to manage the moisture in the air, the movement, the direction of the movement, and the temperature. For example, let us say you call us into a drying for drying a room, and we find that the relative humidity outside is something close to about 85–90%. Now, just maybe there is no core moisture; it is only surface moisture. But I fully understand that if I am pulling in air at 85% relative humidity to dry this room, I would actually be increasing the humidity inside the room. As a result, evaporation rate would go down, and the water would take much longer to dry out than it would have under the other circumstances. So I would probably be using a different technique to dry it rather than only running a blower, just as an example. So drying process, we do two things. Of course, first thing, we do the preliminary drying. That is, we identify and stop the source of the water. We identify all the wet materials which are there, remove the surface water mechanically, and then we enter into the final drying process. While we identify and target the moisture content, quantify wet material moisture content, and quantify the end moisture content. As a result, what you get is something which is a functionally fit material. This is a very important part of the of understanding the drying process, and this is here you can see that time in days. Now, if you see the surface water within 1 day you can remove the surface water, but structural moisture, that is moisture which enters into the structures, can take a very, very long time to go, and this is something which usually can take between 3 to 15 days. Now, if you are not calling in an expert to handle the structural moisture within this 3 to 15 days, it will cause significant damage to the structure, the equipment, machine, or whatever it is. With our processes and our systems, what we can do is we can reduce this time of 3 to 15 days significantly and thereby protect a lot of the assets which otherwise would have become vulnerable. So apart from this, we look into the material characteristics. We have got a huge library of material. We understand that what is their nature of hygroscopicness, what is their propensity to absorb moisture. If the moisture once absorbed, how long does the material take to give it up? At what kind of temperature it gives up the moisture? What kind of vapor pressure differential is required to pull the moisture out of the system. This is what you get as a package, or this is something which is extremely important to understand if we want to understand the drying process. Similarly, air characteristics, the temperature of the air, the moisture level at the air, the velocity of the air. So all these things will play a very strong role in defining how we approach the drying problem. So restorative drying is basically defined as removing abnormal moisture from the affected material, usually contents or components of the structure, and returning them to the former normal state. So this is what restorative drying does. And restorative drying, mind you, is not limited only to structure. It can be done on machines, it can be done on raw materials, it can be done on finished goods, it can be done on documents, it can be done on work of art, carpets. You just think about it, and restorative drying has a huge area. The advantages that you get with restorative drying, it minimizes the loss. It can save almost 40 to 80% of reconstruction and replacement value. It reduces interruption of business and production activities due to shifting and reconstruction. Just to give you an example, last year we had a huge rain in Gurgaon somewhere in the month of August, and one of the companies here was a Japanese company called JKTE, which is basically a bearing manufacturing company, and their control room, which was at the basement, got inundated with water. Now they called us. Our team went to the site, looked at the site. When our team actually went into the site, we had almost ankle deep water in the factory. We looked into it, understood the problem, told them what preliminary support is required. So we asked them to start their pumps so that the water can be the liquid water which was accumulated can be thrown out. And at around 11:30 in the night, they issued a mobilization order for us. By 1 o'clock, our team was in the site. Our machines were up and running, and the result was within 2 days, in fact 1.5 days, they were back in track. Otherwise, they would have taken a much longer time to get back and start operations. So this is what we do. We can help the customers come back into track much quicker than otherwise they would have, otherwise the time they would have taken. It reduces the damage, compensation expenses incurred by the insurer. So that is a direct benefit to you. Project quality is guaranteed by us, and it increases the salvage value of the damaged equipment. If not anything else, as an insurer, if you have to even give the claim, especially with respect to raw material or finished goods, calling us in time would actually help you realize a bigger salvage value from the damaged good if ultimately you decide to settle the claim and take responsibility of the damaged goods. It actually, water damage restoration impacts all types of everybody is stakeholder in the industry. So it impacts the insurance industry, it impacts the individuals, it impacts administration and nation, and it impacts the business. So for insurance industry, it's unbudgeted compensation expenses, profitability issues are there. For individuals, it is a direct damage to their property or assets. They incur reconstruction expenses. Administration, which is basically the country, it causes a hold up in economic activity, and there needs to be fund allocated for reconstruction. For the businesses, it's a loss in asset, loss to the infrastructure, business interruption, and a huge cost in terms of replacement expenses. So timely water damage restoration can actually help or support everybody who is connected or who is impacted by these loss. So what do we do under the restoration process? The job is immediately attended to. We get a call from either a surveyor or an insurance company. Usually, almost 99% of the cases, it is the insurance surveyor who calls us at site. The assessment is immediately done. Our trained people do the assessment immediately. The reason for the water damage is determined. A restoration repair report is prepared, and it is submitted to the client or the insurance company, whoever has called us. Further advice for segregation of wet and dry material is communicated. Damaged items are identified and advice for restoration is done. Now, a plan of action is decided and is included in the report. Now, when it is included in the report, after that, when you call us, we will go in and we will go in with our equipments, machines, and begin the final drying process. So a question definitely comes in that, what is it that we can dry? Anything, sea shipments, laptop computers, books, documents, electronic equipments, hospital equipments. So you name it and it can be dried. What can be restored when we talk about, power plants, furnitures, electronic items, machines, food items, mobile phones, computers and printers. So a lot of things are there which can be restored as well. So with that, I will complete my part of the presentation. Now, Mr. Marwa can take over. He will take you through some of our case studies, and then he will finally talk about the credentials or the capability that TDS has in this particular area, which you can see, and then we can move into the question and answer. Over to you, Mr. Marwa.
I will go through the case studies. This is one job which we have done for Onida Savak. This job is at Gurgaon. What has happened? The material has come, was supposed to come from China. It's coming through sea, and on the way it got wet. It was having some electromechanical equipment, small equipments of limit switch and rotary switch, which were badly damaged due to water. And it was basically for the machines, these sewing machines and I think washing machines, which were after our drying process. They were accepted by the owner. There was no, you can say, maybe breakdown in the manufacturing of the equipments. The total value of the material which we got was approximate value was about 18 lakhs, and our restoration charges were around about 1.64 lakhs, which we have. And customer has accepted this material, and they have issued one appreciation letter. We will also share there after these slides. And this was the Bristol Hotel, where due to breakage in the pipe, a lot of furniture got wetted, and the carpet area was also wet. The total loss was around about 10 lakhs. And we did this job. The owner accepted our services, and results are fully documented. That means we have whatever we have dried, all the things, the reports have been made and has shown to the customer in regards to the humidity levels and dryness. And with these machines, dehumidifiers, you can even measure the relative humidity of the air which is going from the outlet of the machine, which easily show you what relative humidity we are measuring in the room. Also, we are creating that type of air which will basically suck the moisture of the wet material. That is Redington Tata AG. We had then at Bombay, due to fire, the material was wet. It was a godown which was consisting of computers, laptop, PCUs, a lot of electronic equipments. The godown was submerged with water. Around about 45% water damage. Equipments could be saved. The rest of the goods were salvaged by selling them in the market. But total value was around about 1.5 crores. We charged approximately 2.9 lakhs for the customer. The customers are very happy with this service also. Now, this is one typical job we have done in 2005. We will not forget this job because Government of India was directly involved in this job. This is one library in Panvel, which is basically containing archives of for various geomagnetism, Institute of Geomagnetism, archives of you can say these of library and having a lot of important documents which were wet due to water damage. We have dried about around about 95% of archives, and the equipment, you can say the value of the material was priceless. We have charged approximately, we have dried about 5,000 books of research work, and we have charged approximately 2 lakhs from them, and they were quite happy. And I think this job was the Ministry of Science was directly involved. And the first time the Air India had taken our machines to Bombay, they managed, and they had taken the machines on their flight itself. And this is higher appliances Bombay. Again, we have dried the equipments. If you are seeing the laptops, PCUs, fridge, and all these white goods, which we have dried, the cost of the damage of the equipment was 6 to 8 crores. The restoration cost was approximately 7 lakhs. And this is one of the major jobs we have done in Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam Limited at Jakadi, due to fire had come inside the hydro projects, where whole of the plant, power plant, this hydro project was underwater. And after removing the water, we have dried the, you can say the generators, panels, and a lot of other equipment. There have been at least 7 to 8 cases in India for major disasters or hydro projects, which we have dried, and successfully we have dried. Teri Koteshwar, naming 1 or 2, then Satluj Vidyut Nigam, then Koteshwar is there, Dulasti is there, then Kullu also we have dried. Then Chutak is one of the major projects owned by NHPC, where also we have done the similar job. Now, this is a Ranjit Power Plant, Sikkim also we have done. And on the right side, if you see the Might Hospital at Chennai, our job was to at least start the panels, which were totally dried. Water had engulfed to 8 feet, and we had successfully dried the panels. Initially, actually, the information we got, they had ordered 400 crores of panels to ABB, but after drying, at least 90% of the panels were recovered by our system. And photographs of the recent jobs. This is for the Ranjit Power and Bajaj Appliances. This is for Cochin job. We have dried the equipment. Initially, the salvage buyer were not accepting the material. They were giving less value, but after our drying process, the value was increased, and they had got a good value. And on the bottom, you are seeing one of the documents we have dried, at least 1.25 lakh documents of one company, which is basically preserving the documents for various companies. And this is one job for Flipkart we have done at Chennai. These are approximately 45,000 mobiles which were at present during the floods at Flipkart godown. We have basically restored them, and it has been accepted by Flipkart. And the surveyor here was Cunningham Lindsay through Bajaj Alliance. And what procedure we had adopted, we have made bundles of where the whole of the mobiles were the battery part and the other part were numbered together by a lot of maybe you can say a lot of people were involved physically to open the mobiles and assemble it, but the rest recovery was quite very good. By the customer was very satisfied. This is cashew drying at Kerala floods. We have done it, and the customer has accepted it, and they have sold in the market. And this is one company, Iron Mountain, where they are storing the documents in Cochin for the various companies. That these are all you can say documents of some agreements which we have dried. And the customer, this job we did for at least 30-35 days initially. After that, it was extended also, and we were able to save a lot of files, documents for this Iron Mountain company. And this is one job for Caparo Jamshedpur. If you see, we are covering the procedure is we cover with the, these are robotics. We have covered these material with tarpaulin sheet. If you see the dehumidifier, which is taking the air from the inlet of that enclosed area and further passing through the dehumidifier on recirculation, the systems are dried. And we have dried this, at least 19 robotics were there for this. End customer was Tata, and they were very, very satisfied. They released the appreciation letter to us also. And this is the appreciation letter. We did this job in 2008. But after that, we have also done a job for the Caparo Engineering in Calcutta itself. Through that job was from ABB. And these are the references. We have done South Indian Bank. We have restored the ATMs. And Alstom, that is the metro project at Cochin only. Then Central Bank, it was Cochin, Cunningham Lindsay. Then EV Plast, again were these blowers and all these items. Ganesh Bendoplast. We have done these boxes and Godrej consumer products. And Havells India, we have done for Nirmana, then ICC Lombard, various type of jobs. Iron Mountain Storing, JC Gupta Isla, we have done one job in Bombay for the automobile parts, which were even, there was corrosion on the parts with some other agency. We have removed the corrosion also. Then SK Das, SCAD Surveyors, then Puri Crawford, Pro Connect Supply Chain Solutions, the Premier Taj Association, ONGC. Also, there was a fire. We have done these jobs also in Dahej. Then Microbial Silica also we have supplied the equipment, dried the equipment. Then Innovative Technologies, Mac Trading, then MNR Associates, Linde India, Krishna Maruti, Kamal. There are a lot of customers where we have dried the equipment. And these are the one case study, which is very typical case study of job based in near Hyderabad. What happened? These Cummins generators and you can say side boomers and mobile generators with damaged with muddy water. And initially, when we went to the site, we made the report. Our assessment, we told them the equipment were totally damaged. It cannot be done. And and because the water was very muddy, we told the customer that it cannot be done. We made the report and submitted to the customer. But the surveyor was after us to do the job. Then we had one idea. We installed this jetting machines, water jet machines. We removed the water from the mud from the water, this jet machine with the help of the jet machines. And after removing the water, we asked the customer to call the OEM people, and they were quite satisfied with this. It was a job which we got after 2 months, but they were able to repair all the things, and the restoration were done, and the customers were quite happy. And sometimes we are also quite afraid that this will not be done, but surveyor was afterward kindly do it because it's a high value, and it is if you do it, then a lot of saving will be there to the industry, to the insurance surveyor, insurance company. And about TDS, we have 7 branches. We have around 100 plus employees. We have our 7 branches where we have sales engineers. Our project team is also there. Technicians is there. We have our godowns and machines are always there. And whenever we get a call from the surveyor, immediately our team visits the site and give a report in writing to the customer surveyor itself. And after meeting with the surveyor and insurance company, what decision the customer takes, and after having meeting with them, with all 3 of them, we take a decision, we get the order, and we execute the job. And once the job is finished, our equipments are demobilized. Now we have 3 major divisions. One is Industrial Project Solutions, where we basically dry the equipment. We are restoring the equipment also. Restoring means we are preserving the equipment. Some sites, if the sites are delayed, one site, typical site is NHBC, that is at one site is known hold preserve equipment of Alstom, where NHPC Subansiri, where the equipment of electromechanical equipment is lying from last 6 years. We have preserved that equipment in controlled environment. And the surveyor is there is at KD Kohli. Twice I have traveled to that site with KD Kohli. That's because the equipment value is very high. They have insured the material, and that material basically requires preservation. I think there may be several projects of power, and maybe in Bihar or Odisha floods or other areas where the equipment project jobs may be going on. And I think the material may be insured. If you require any services there, the equipment can also be preserved so that due to water, the further damage does not happen to it. This is one division where we can even preserve the equipment as per the requirement of the customer also. Then surface preparation and coating, where we do blasting, we control the humidity during the blasting painting jobs. And then water damage restoration, we already explained this. Then comfortable working conditions in confined areas, wherever you have areas where people get suffocated or they cannot work in the confined areas, we provide temperature control and ventilation to the as per the requirement of the customer. And equipment we give, this is dehumidifiers of various capacities. We have containerized drying systems also. Sometimes if the equipments are very small, then we even dispatch this container dries equipment to various sites. Then we have blowers, air conditioning, condensing systems. And one of the sites in Bombay where there is a fire in one company, where the company told us, even the insurance company Cholamandalam told us to control the humidity in the whole of the building, because the fire happened in the second floor and the fire people came. The whole of the building was wet. All the floors were wet. Their equipment, their machinery was wet. But after drying, the customer told us to control the humidity because that machines, because since the fire was there and the fire department did not give them certificate to open the to start the building. Therefore, they wanted to preserve the equipment in controlled environment, humidity, all the floors. That also we can do with the combination of air conditioning and dehumidifiers as per the customer's requirement. If the machines ask for 40 to 45% of the huge building, that also we can do with our system. We can give a combination of various systems as per the customer's requirement. We have our offices in Gurgaon, head office, then Baroda, Jamshedpur, Bombay, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Cochin. And godowns we have at Gurgaon, Baroda, Jamshedpur, and Bombay and Hyderabad, and we are fully equipped with a lot of equipments. Now